Yes. Okay. Yeah. Mike jacked some stuff up. So, hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play the goddamn intro music.
You're listening to Flying Casual.
You're goddamn right you are. That's right. Part 2.
Here's your host,
Let the
Michael
beat drop.
Canterbury.
You're goddamn right. This is Michael Canterbury. And I'm not talking to myself this time because we fixed the audio issue. Boy, needed that big W there. Needed the music to get me hyped up. Because you know what? You know what's great for viewership? Cutting a stream 3 minutes into the stream. That really keeps people around. Sounds fantastic. Thanks, Joy. Needed that. Maybe everyone will come back to the stream and think that Mike's not a coward. You know, I think Mike stepped up to the challenge, like the Mando, and fixed the issue. I can either bring him in warm or I can bring him in cold, Luke. I mean...
Yeah, you weren't Baby Yoda and putting the two ends together that shouldn't go together anymore.
Nah. You'll never get this. Man, we never talked about Borat either. I don't even think I finished the movie.
Oh, we'll get that podcast going
Seriously.
soon.
I think I stopped after...
Borecast.
After Rudy Giuliani was caught with his hand in his pants, I think I had to stop it.
That was like the end.
I know. We'll have to finish that, and we'll get on the Borecast. I'm down. But I do appreciate you guys sticking around, being patient. Now Mike tinkers with stuff, not even just before a podcast. I'm talking about like days ago. I was like, I bet I can fix this audio issue. Let me mess with some buttons that I have no idea what the hell they mean. And sure enough, it ends Luke's audio. So Mike went back and pressed those buttons back where they were before, and that solved the issue. So if you've learned anything in this stream, it's don't fuck with the sound. Don't mess with things when they work. If it ain't broke, you don't mess with it. So Luke, we were talking about this episode. It was fun. There's some big sweaty details, but we didn't get your thoughts, actually, because you were muted. So it was so funny because last week I just sent you a bunch of mind-blown emojis, and you're like, oh, fuck, what the hell's happening? And then you did that to me this week before I had saw it, and I said, how? How are they going to have more mind-blowing moments? Isn't Ahsoka enough? Isn't Bo-Katan, or Katan if you're an asshole, enough? Isn't that enough? No, we're going to tie this in even deeper. Oh, and also disclaimer, if you didn't hear it before, Holly's not on the stream. Holly didn't get to watch the episode, so we're not spoiling it for Holly, though she can probably hear me talking about it right now. But you know what? You snooze, you lose. So sorry. Sorry, I'm not sorry. But Luke, what did you think of this episode?
Well, as I was saying to the ether earlier, I was ready for this one to be kind of a foot off the canon pedal.
That's right.
Take a little step back, have a little side quest. We 99.9% knew Ahsoka wasn't coming until the following episode because it's out there that Filoni's directed episode is episode 5. And we all believe Filoni's going to direct the episode that's Ahsoka heavy. Yeah. So I was ready for it to be just kind of side adventure a la episode 2 of this season. Yeah. Chapter 10, and then we kind of get back towards like the main arc, the really deep and sweaty stuff in the following episode. But no. This thing, like, if you thought last week was, wow, look at the canon connections, this thing just went nuts.
It did. Like, with everything, we're dealing with Mandalorians. We know of Mandalorians out there. It makes sense for it to tie in. We're all kind of expecting it, especially after those freaking spoilers or leaks or whatever you want to call them, especially after all that. This, though, nah. Because if it's going the way that we're thinking. So it's for me, I jumped at a conclusion, and maybe that's premature. Maybe we shouldn't jump to that just yet because we haven't talked about it. But let's talk about the beginning. I loved the opening of this, and it's directed by Carl Weathers, by the way, and you just feel the love and how much he just enjoys how fun Star Wars is. You could feel that in this episode. It's not too serious, It's just fun, and that opening sequence, it's like, how long are we going to go back and forth with this wire? Like, I loved that. What did you think?
I had a realization watching it that my daughter is basically the same mental age as Baby Yoda in a way. Because watching the interactions with Din and him trying to convey information and the reactions and the way that Baby Yoda emotes, I was like, that's my 14-month-old right there.
Yeah.
Only she's actually, I think, better at following directions than Baby Yoda is.
Absolutely.
So I think she could have. She doesn't quite know colors yet, so that might have been an issue. Blue, red.
Yeah.
But like, she would have known. Don't put the things together. If I told her don't put the things together, that shocked her. You know.
Yeah. Just.
But no, that was funny. I felt a little bit of like nerves and fear for his.
Yeah.
For Baby Yoda's safety.
That's
doing
right.
This work with the electrical wiring.
That's right.
Granted, we all know nothing that bad's going to happen to him, but he's still so precious that you get a little bit of angst and worry seeing him in this situation. But
and it's so relatable for a lot of you guys. And I mean, there's some deep and sweaty stuff here with nerds like myself, you know, no kids, you know, I think the kid's cute, but just like that 10-minute felt like a 10-minute interaction with them going back and forth. Now the blue, it's like, it was hilarious for me, but it's just like, you see the parents just saying, yes, like that. Thank you. Other people understand, even in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago, kids could still be little brats and they could sit there and mess with you and can be just as frustrating. So it's cool that there's a little bit of something for everyone. So I loved that opening sequence. Poor thing, yeah, was he gonna get fried? Obviously, you could feel it coming, but like, would he survive? I don't know. You know, with that high M count, maybe that's what saved his life. I don't know. I don't think anyone else could have sustained that electrical shock. But I've been shocked a lot in my life, actually, working with my dad. So it makes a lot of sense. Maybe some wires are loose up there now. We'll see how baby Yoda turns out. Maybe like myself, which, boy, it's going to be tough for him in the future. So that was a fun opening sequence. And you know what, Luke, what struck me this episode more than it did the prior episode, the irony of the Razor Crest and how it was fixed by the Mon Cal. It's just hysterical. Mon Calamari are known for shipbuilding. They're known for creating these fleets. It's what saved the rebellion. And this guy's tying this thing together with string. It's so hysterical to show just like, not all Mon Cals are the same, just like no humans are the same. It's like this guy is a fisherman. He ain't here to fix ships. I don't know. I was cracking up at the beginning of this, just thinking like, oh my God, I cannot believe I didn't really put that together. But that's what the Mon Cals were known for. That's why they were on the list of planets to be destroyed by the Empire and the Death Star. Luckily, that didn't happen. But
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because there are some great arcs of the mainline comic series between A New Hope and Empire that touches on kind of the recruitment of the Mon Calas into the rebellion because of their magnificent ships. And I hadn't thought of that till you brought it up. But I guess this wasn't Mon Cala.
That's right.
That they're Trask is this outpost.
That's right.
So they're not quite working with I guess their full gear and their full know-how.
That's right.
And just getting by.
Just
doing what they can.
Yeah, just with string and fishnets and whatever was holding that thing together. But so we go to Navarro, right? Like,
well, wait.
Yeah. What did I miss?
Oh, go ahead. No. I'm sorry. You're going to Navarro, which is good because there's almost two opening sequences in this. The opening scene on Navarro kind of felt like a second opening.
It did.
There was like a dual opening.
No, was there something I missed there, or did we? Because honestly, guys, I watch it. 5 minutes later, I'm like, what the hell happened? Which is why it's good that we talk about it, so I'm reminded.
Well, I assume you're going to talk about the action scene with Cara Dune, right?
Oh, yeah. Good call. I forgot about that.
That's what I want to make sure we touch on.
Okay.
Because this fits in nicely with a lot of what we talked about last week.
Let's go.
With sort of the alien stereotype.
Let's go.
We talked about the corn last week,
yeah.
which almost always end up being dicks.
Absolutely.
Not
Changed my
good
mind.
guys. And here we are presented with the Aqualish.
Boy, bunch of scoundrels.
You know, thieves, whatever, weasel eaters.
They were going to cut that thing's head off.
That weasel wasn't that big, and there was like 4 of those guys, so that would have been just like an amuse-bouche.
Absolutely, it was just like an appetizer, right, for the meal.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite terms I've learned from watching Top Chef. Amuse-bouche. It's for those of you not
bougie enough
in the culinary lingo. It's a bite-sized appetizer. Just like a single bite.
I can't do the bougie meals. I can't do it. I eat way too much to even savor food. I sit down, scarf it down, and I'm just like, what's next? Like, where's the ice cream? Like, I can't. It's just not enough for me. I appreciate that you can appreciate the food.
But in terms of the stereotyping, so that species is Ponda Baba in the cantina, episode 4.
Yeah.
Who accosts Luke
at
the bar and ends up with an arm.
Deserved it.
From Obi-Wan.
Deserved it.
And these species, you can tell how much Favreau is a child of the OT era, just adores and wants to bathe in all the good OT feelings.
That's right.
And brings them out in these wonderful new ways that we haven't seen before. And so to present these, gangster Aqualish, in the vein of Ponda Baba, up to no good.
Yeah.
And then Cara Dune just rolls in and smokes them.
It just reaffirms for you that he deserved it and that they all deserve it. But what creator is going to...
there's got to be some good Aqualish out
and
there,
that's
just like there's got to be some good corn out there, but we're
well, who's going to be brave enough to do that? Who's going to be brave enough to go outside the box and say, I'm going to do a standalone Corrin show? And they're going to be the good guys. Like, we're going to go out and find some other dicks in the galaxy. Like, who's going to be brave enough to do it? I don't know. Can we trust them? I think the jury's out. I don't know. I think they're too far gone. For the past 40+ years, they've been dicks. The Corrin, not that long, but I don't know if anything can save them. We're going to find out. Maybe Mando has something up his sleeve for later. But, yeah, it worked as a nice way to allow Cara Dune to show off her skills. We haven't seen her too much in kind of a one-on-one, other than with the Mando, but really let her show her actual skills, like what her job is, like performing these kinds of acts. It was a nice little homage to even some actual, entertainment wrestling moves. So that was kind of cool. And yeah, she saved the little, Jory called him a meerkat, but whatever that weasel was with the demon eyes, I don't know if he was worth saving.
It was Timon.
Yeah. Right. So it was a fun little opening scene. I had forgot about that actually, but she's the marshal, right? So she's,
I like that they brought that term back again.
Yeah.
From chapter 9.
Feels like anyone can just kind of step in. You got some armor. It's like, well, I'm the sheriff in town. So that's cool. She's got some roots. It feels like maybe that hasn't been, something she's been able to establish for a while. And we find out, spoiler at the end of the episode, she's lost everything. So that's another, discussion that we'll have here later on at the end. But, yeah, a nice little opening. That was fun. So we get back to Navarro, right? And things look completely different. Looks like we got a nice little functioning village. We got a school set up. There's a freaking monument of IG-11 dedicated in the center of town. I don't know if you guys caught that, but
I missed that one.
You go back and freeze that when they're walking into the old Imperial impound. They've got it's probably, I'm assuming it's his body or a replica, but just like the savior of the town, right? It's crazy, which is an interesting conversation in itself. People, dedicating something to a droid, right? It's like even in think of what R2 and C-3PO have done. And C-3PO gets dismissed at every turn. No one's creating a freaking statue of him. They should. The Ewoks were onto something.
Yeah, there's probably one at Bright Tree
Absolutely.
Village right now.
They knew what was up. They knew how to celebrate that man. He's a freaking god in their eyes. So finally, we have droids kind of getting a nice nod. Hey, this guy deserves a little something. Yeah, he wasn't sentient, but hey, saved our freaking lives. So that was kind of cool. And then we go to this school. Adorable little school. Very relatable. It's hysterical that we have what do they call them? What is C-3PO? He's a protocol droid. Never thought I'd see one teaching in class. That's hysterical. Perfect. And, we've got some stuff to do. And let's leave Baby Yoda at the school. Luke, where you surprises me is, once again, I get that we're under the assumption, or at least the Mando is, that Moff Gideon is dead. But he said it himself. Where he goes, I go. Well, that's obviously not the case. Maybe a little naive again. I mean, were you a little surprised we're leaving this little guy behind again?
No, because he tries to keep him out of the action as much as he can to keep him safe.
True.
And Kara assured him that he'd be safe there.
True.
But it's funny to me that this is jumping ahead a little bit, but he doesn't waste a minute to get him back.
True.
Because when he jets off away from the base that they infiltrate later on, before he goes to the Razor Crest, he picks Baby Yoda up from school.
True. Can you imagine?
To make sure he gets in too. So he wasn't wasting a minute more than he had to be separated from him.
God, I bet that was
even though he was trusting enough to leave him there.
True. I bet that was embarrassing for Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda's probably making some friends. It's like, God, Dad, I can't just have a minute to just explore. And
he's probably just happy to get away with the cookies.
Right.
Least, so.
And so, yeah, he's his I don't know if he learned anything there in class, but he learned how delicious little, macaroons or whatever the hell those things were.
It definitely was like macaroons.
Right. Or some sort of treat of some sort. But we still got to work on Baby Yoda's manners. Still got a little bit to learn. Still kind of a dick. I don't want him to become the bully. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get you got a high M count, but like, you don't need to be a jerk about it. So you could definitely, it's not like he beat the kid up or something, but I mean, yeah, I guess he did ask. He kind of put his hand out. He can't really speak well. But are you noticing in that sequence and even kind of at the end and the opening, as much as we thought, Baby was truly a baby, they've really amped up the giggles. They've amped up the babiness of him, right? It's like, oh, this hooked people. Let's play it up even more and tear at your heartstrings. Has that always been a thing?
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely getting more audio from him this season. Just like you said, the little those little baby noises. They're coming through stronger. If they were there in season 1, I feel like they were fewer and farther between, or they were a little more subtle.
Definitely.
But they're like right in front of you right now.
And he's assumingly going to be speaking basic. If he's understanding the Mando without a helmet on, saying go with the red wire, no the blue, and he's like, what? This one, the red one? He's going to be speaking basic. So, I mean, it's a matter of time before he says dada or something. I don't know. Or this is the way.
Can you engage with some folks in the chat for a
minute?
I'm absolutely.
That's it.
Step away for just.
I hear your baby crying. You
right
deal
back.
with that baby, guys. I'm running the chat here. Here goes Mike. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. So what's the time jump from the end of last season to now? Because it seems like it would take some time to rebuild. You talking about the town, Jory? I agree. I think the little town there on Navarro. I mean, it was under Imperial rule. You had a bunch of Mandos hanging out underground. So yeah, how. And also the Mando's greeting with Grief and Cara Dune seemed like they hadn't seen each other. Well, to us, it seems like they saw him yesterday. But I mean, there was a lot of action there in that city, and it seemed like things have taken a turn for the better in a very short amount of time. So I don't know. I don't think anyone's really told us how long it's been, but we're gonna find out. Nettie said, I'm going to start a GoFundMe to build a monument of C-3PO. I think that would be a fantastic, idea. Let's get that thing started. Where are we going to put it, though, Nettie? I mean, are we putting this in Illinois, or are we putting this? Where are we putting this? We got to find. I can't have it out in California there at Lucasfilm. They got too much going on. They already got a nice Yoda statue, so give Columbus the C-3PO statue or something. But we're talking about where to put the C-3PO monument that Nettie's going to fund. Not sure if that's going to be in Columbus or elsewhere, but we're going to find out. And maybe there will be a nice little meerkat statue somewhere. Maybe this weasel, saves the day somewhere. And Jory was wondering, what's the time span here from the last time we were on Navarro to now? because a lot's changed in what feels like a little amount of time, and he's thinking maybe like a yearish, and it seemed like a lot's changed, and it seemed like Grief and Kara, when they were greeting Mando, it's like, hey, I haven't seen you for ages, man. You looking good. It's like, didn't you see him last week? It feels like it wasn't that long ago. Were you thinking it was longer, Luke?
Yeah, it's really, we haven't been given too many clues about the time passage between the end of last season and, Chapter 9 felt like it picked up almost immediately after Chapter 8, but you could easily have had them hanging out somewhere else that we don't know about in the meantime. So it definitely feels like a little bit of time has passed for them to have been cleaning this world up. Navarro establishing this school, that takes a minute. So this is the first episode we've been given this season that indicates some semblance of passage of time that's significant from season 1.
Yeah. And Mando's been wandering around for a long time. So, I mean, take all that time into account. How long was he on that fishing barge with those corn? Could have been weeks, could have been months. We have no idea. Or maybe a day.
How's everyone feeling about the return of our first bounty we ever saw acquired?
I love that. I'm a big fan of Horatio. How is it? Horatio Sands, or Sans, or however he pronounces it. I think he's hysterical, and I thought he was a nice opening kind of comedic moment in the beginning of the show, and to bring him back, he fits it, and it even like when they're in this Imperial, compound or whatever, and he's the one. Why are they making him do all this stuff? Like, he looks like he's the clumsiest one of them all. He can't shoot a blaster, and they're all like, "Go open the door, go turn the reactor off." Like, why are you having him do all of this? Because you think he's expendable? If he falls in the reactor core, well, so be it. It's not Mando in the Beskar. Like, I just, why the hell is he having to do everything? Stop giving him shit when he's the one that's doing everything to get the mission going forward. So that I had some trouble with. But he allows us to have those comedic moments when, Carl Weathers is funny in his own right. But in this show, I mean, when he talks to the baby and stuff, that's cute, but he's much more of a serious man. You can't rely on Gina Carano to do the comedy. I don't see that happening. And Mando doesn't have too many comedic moments. So someone to kind of further that role, I liked it. And even the reactor bit when he says there's no rails here on this thing, it's like, it's such a nice nod to Star Wars. Cause it's like, they're on the Death Star. Why the hell weren't there any rails? Like, it's just comedic.
I liked how he said, in that scene, too, it was probably my favorite comedic lines that he had was in that reactor area. And he said, I don't like heat or lava or ice.
Yeah. And he said he was going to...
I don't like anything about this.
He was going to dry out, too, right? Like, he's like, I got to get back, dude. I'm starting to get...
He's going to have that moisture vest. Dry it right out in that lava.
I guess they just look at him as an expendable guy, and it's like, but I mean, are we leaving him there? Is he going to continue the mission? Could he become the Mando's kind of, sidearms, his side guy? That'd be kind of cool. I'd be down, because we need that. We need that comedy going forward. Yes, Baby Yoda's cute and funny, but we need the comedy. So who's going to provide that going forward if we leave Navarro and we don't have those moments? I mean, it does feel like things are about to get really serious, but it's Star Wars. You got to have the funny moments. But so of course, it's like Luke said in the opening. You guys didn't hear it. We expected this to be kind of a lower key episode, not too much happening. So when Grief says, "Hey, you're going to be here a while. We'll fix your ship. It's cool. It's going to take some time, though." But once again, I asked the question, how much time? Because he made it sound like it's going to be weeks. Seems like they got that thing fixed up in half a day. So I don't know who's doing the repairs, but it wasn't a Mon Cal, apparently. So he says, "Hey, while you're here, help us out with something." And it's just like, of course, man. I was like, sure, yeah, why not? Let's go do whatever it is that you need done. And then we find out there's this Imperial base. It's where all these Imperials have been coming from, and Grief and Gina Carano or Cara Dune just want to rid the planet of these folks. Been causing trouble. Let's get the Empire out of here. We can be safe. We can be a trading outpost for the rest of the region. Cool. Sounds awesome. Let's go and save the day. They make it sound like there's maybe just a few stragglers there. I don't know. But it's a fully fortified base with TIE fighters, tanks, all the stormtroopers you could ever ask for. And we're off, right? And our blue friend goes with us. And we kind of mentioned this in the beginning, but it was silly how easily they got into this facility. The Empire has obviously not learned any of their lessons over the past decades of properly fortifying and securing an establishment, and they've failed to do that. And our little blue friend, he's the one with the blowtorch. He's the guy that's breaking down the doors and turning off the reactors. Like, he's the one he's doing everything. So it didn't really feel all that serious. I want to, when we're going through those moments, when I was going through Jedi Fallen Order, this felt a lot like that, going around corners and you don't know what's there. I was all tense. I'm like, you don't know what's going to come. Everyone's going to be safe. We'll blast a couple stormtroopers, maybe too many stormtroopers. I don't know about you, Luke, but for a while there, going through all these corridors, we just kept shooting stormtroopers, and I'm like, this is going on for a long time. Like, where are we going to get to where we need to go? Did you feel like that at all?
No, because it seemed like kind of in and out. At
Crazy.
First they get to the reactor, they set they set it for self-destruct.
10 minutes or whatever.
And, then it's get out of here, and then like I said, this might have been in my muted version, but I was, having some lunch and watching the episode. And then when it gets to the scene where all of a sudden I see the guys who are wearing the outfit more like the Doctor fellow.
Let's go.
In season 1.
Let's go.
We're like, whoa.
Something's up.
Wait.
Something's up.
These aren't just regular Imperial officers or soldiers. Something else is going on here. So I perk up. Put my fork down.
Crank the volume.
And say, what's going on? Get closer to the TV. I literally stand up and go right up to the TV. Like this close.
That's exactly what I did.
See what's going on. And we get this huge continuation of a thread that was, laid in season 1, but we really haven't heard of since chapter 3.
Yeah.
It was like, what did they really want with Baby Yoda? What was the purpose of that, having him? And it's to harvest metachlorian-rich blood.
He dropped the word.
Now, you've been using the nomenclature they used in this episode, which I have a bone to pick with. This M-count bullshit.
That's right.
Why didn't they say metachlorian?
I think there's an agreement somewhere.
Slap in the face. This is a slap in George's face to not just come out and use the word metachlorian.
Or did George say, never again can my franchise reference this? It was too hard to swallow. It was too... I don't know, man.
No, George was going to go back
That's
to
right.
the metachlorian stuff. Remember, like, there's some of those thoughts he gave about where his... sequel trilogy might have gone, and it would have delved into how people connect to the Force and through the metachlorians and how they speak to Force wielders and beings in the galaxy. So I'm a little ticked off that they didn't come out and say metachlorian, and they threw in this M count thing. I guess it felt to me like they were still scared of the reaction of 21 years ago to this word.
And it could be it could be legitimately, hey, we're not saying that. It was problematic for a lot of people. We don't want to upset the fanboys. Like, they don't want to drop it. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just kind of a play on it. Like, right? Like, we know how you guys feel about it. We're gonna kind of poke some fun. We're not even gonna mention. We're gonna call it M count. And it's like, okay, maybe
it makes sense to me from a standpoint of, like, I have a wife who works in healthcare, and like in so many fields, they come up with shorthand for things and abbreviations, and so from like a medical genetics perspective, maybe it makes sense that rather than running around saying this big long word all the time,
that's right,
these genetic engineers and biologists just say M count.
That's true.
You need to give me a stat M count on this guy before surgery.
So we don't know what they're talking about. It's so us lay folk, you would think that they would be abbreviating it for us so we understood more. No, it's to keep us all out. It very well could be. But maybe, Luke, maybe this is to honor George Lucas. Maybe this is, you know what? George was going to double down on this. So are we. So are we. This entire freaking show is about midichlorians. Baby Yoda's got them. Sure, Den's got some. I'm sure he's going to inject midichlorians into these robots that we saw at the end of the show. It's going to be a midichlorian fest. Yeah, I just bleeped myself out for a big F-bomb. It could be midichlorians galore. Everyone could have them, but we know that, well, supposedly Anakin had the highest they'd ever seen, right? But Obi-Wan says, that counts even higher than Master Yoda's, or whatever he said.
Yeah,
so we know, it seems like maybe Yoda wasn't just necessarily a kind of one-off, like this guy's got the Force and he's got it big time, and it's not his species. He's just got what it counts, kind of like Anakin. But maybe it is the species. Maybe there's something special. Maybe there's only a few of them out there because they hoard all the Force energy. Like, I don't know. Is he a clone? Is he a clone? Or is he coming back from the future? Yeah, I just said it. It could be canon. I don't know. Could they have went in, the DeLorean and just freaking went back in time? I don't know. We could be dealing with a lot of stuff here, especially after watching that holiday special. I don't even think I can get in. Well, maybe we will. Maybe we will. Maybe it'll tie into all this very nicely. So, look, it could be honoring him. We could be really going down because this is not where I expected us to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's using the concept as much as it irked me that they didn't use the word. It's definitely using the concept, and my jaw just dropped because they didn't give us a clear view of those vats.
Oh yeah,
but it sure looked to me like those were Snoke fails.
Come on, yeah,
AKA Emperor Palpatine fails. To try to resurrect him, in that. This was hinted at, I think, in the novelization of Rise of Skywalker, and just sort of hinted at in the way that the movie was presented, but they didn't dwell on it very long. That the Emperor we see there is some sort of clone, but of this clone cannot be well managed in these bodies, these physical forms that they would generate.
Yeah,
and so they would deteriorate. So they're trying to harvest this midichlorian-rich blood that they think might preserve the body longer, but they haven't quite perfected it because, Dr. Pershing says in the recordings that we see to Gideon, it hasn't quite worked yet, and they're now out of the baby blood. They're out of the baby Yoda juice. So I couldn't believe how sort of deep and sweaty this got.
Yeah.
In that way, and how it connected to Rise of Skywalker, and I started to think about the production timeline. So I was like, this ties in so closely with Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking, so Rise of Skywalker came out December 19, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shot largely in 18.
Yeah.
This show came out, just before Rise of Skywalker, shot again in 18. So I think the production schedules were very close and or overlapped. And Favreau must have been given, inklings of the script and things ahead of time, I think. And because this season would have been shot last year in 19. And for him, and he probably wrote the scripts long before that even. So he must have been given, a lot of clips of Rise of Skywalker as they were filming and creating it. And given the script and everything to know kind of what was going on there, because this just kind of emerges so well into sort of the backstory of Snoke and the Emperor Palpatine. It would appear to me, as far as we can tell, they haven't spelled it out plain as day just yet. But that, am I interpreting it any differently than you or anyone, Jory or Nettie did?
That's when I first saw it. I froze the damn picture, and I stood up. I walked over to my television, and I was like, that head and that kind of distorted body, the head so much more than anything for me, it definitely reminded me of Snoke. Is that just, though, how failed kind of humanoid clones end up looking? I don't know. And that's, I think, going to be the heart of this discussion is because when we watched The Rise of Skywalker and we found out this show was happening, we found out the timeline, a lot of people asked, could this tie in? And as we all kind of talked about, I think they're going to move past this. I think we're moving past this. This is something different. We're in these unknown regions. It's going to be kind of a smaller story. Well, we were wrong about that. We were obviously wrong about that, and it's tying in so much with it. It could very easily be, this could be the Emperor's project. This could be part of the contingency plan. We know from Aftermath, there's laboratories everywhere. There's and God knows what they're doing. Some of them are holding relics. Some of them are doing this shit. It's just, there's so much stuff happening. We haven't even scratched the surface. And they could be spreading these things out, right? In case this one gets jeopardized like it did. Those guys said, fuck, shut it down. Like, shut it down, blast that goddamn thing, and pop a couple caps on these invaders. Like, they weren't saying, let's save that. They said, blow that thing up. We're getting out of here. So it doesn't seem like this is the only place this is going on. It's probably going on Exegol. It's probably going on probably the underworld of Coruscant's probably got some goddamn, Imperial hideout with freaking clones and goo and shit. Who knows? But like, it just, for them to say, blow this, they're not going to find any of this. Well, obviously they saw the clones, but they blew the freaking control board. And it took me 5 attempts. But I went back and froze that freaking frame. And there is nothing on there. That thing, it doesn't tell you shit. It is just, it looks like it looks just like I don't know, like radar or something. It doesn't really say anything. So don't go do that, guys. I did, and it was nothing. There's more there with the clones themselves. So I think that's the question. Does it actually tie in with that? The one thing that makes me question it, because it seems pretty plain as day, right? That those are clones, those are Snoke clones that are failed, and we eventually get a Snoke that works. He's kind of rogue, and we know all that kind of story from the novelization. The one thing that makes me question, well, two things that make me question that is, one, is it that easy? It seems too freaking easy. It seems too easy that that's just what's going on. The other thing is that I never suspected that Moff Gideon, and that's who that Dr. What's-His-Face was reporting to in his hologram, right?
Yeah.
Never expected Moff Gideon to be a part of something like that, right? Like, he's a Moff, and he's got a Darksaber. He's badass. What is he? Is he just overseeing this operation? Or is it something that he's actually doing here, that he has this Darksaber? Is it just power that he's seeking? Is it something more? Is it to juice up these robo troopers that apparently he has? Like, is it something different?
That's a really good point you make. Kind of what are Gideon's motivations? Because you almost think there's a lot of Imperials running around in this time.
Yeah,
just trying to carve out their own niche, hold on to whatever power they can, become the new emperor in their own way.
Yeah.
And we, I think, are given the impression that Gideon is selfish, and just wants to become a warlord with his own kingdom carved out of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And he's that kind of character. And you see in the last episode when he's, convincing these Imperials to kill themselves so that Bo-Katan and her crew don't get a hold of their supplies and their ship.
Yeah.
And he's saying, long live the Empire. You think, like, all right, this guy is using that dogma and that sentiment about long live the Empire just for his own selfish gains.
Yeah.
And for what he wants. But then, like you said, for him to be pursuing this project to resurrect the Emperor kind of flies in the face of that. Even though it's to resurrect this great evil, it's selfless in a way that it's something beyond him. It's to bring back this old power source, rather than just maintain all the power for himself.
Yeah.
So that throws an interesting wrinkle in when you think about it that way.
Because not everyone can be so freaking dedicated to the Emperor. There's a freaking power vacuum going. There's a lot of shitty people in the Empire, but there's a lot of powerful people in the Empire too. After he probably thinks the freaking Emperor's gone. I feel like there's only a very select few people that even know about this contingency plan that the Emperor had. And I bet there's many facets of the contingency plan that were to throw people off. Oh, yeah, the Empire's going to live on, and it's, we're going to create the First Order. That was just that was a smoke shield for the actual resurrection of Palpatine and the Sith Empire. It was a freaking smoke shield for the final order. So it kind of, it makes sense if this is just part of that operation. We're recreating the Emperor, but maybe it's something different. Maybe it is, and I'm okay with keeping it small, because if you're dealing with cloning and who knows what Moff Gideon's capable of, if they have this blood, have they been successful? Or will they be successful? Like they said, that recording was only a few days ago, so it doesn't seem like it has been really so far. But now they got the child in their sights, so they're amping up. They're ramping up like whatever it is they're going to be doing. So it's just, I don't know. I want to know what you guys think in the chat, because I feel like we're at a crossroads. Is this just part of the bigger Star Wars story and Palpatine and all that? Or are we dealing with a really power-hungry, selfish guy who's like, oh, yeah, there's this cloning technology, but I have different plans. There's no chance of the Emperor coming back. He fell down a freaking reactor. There's no possible way they got enough goop from this guy to do anything. So I'm going to create an army. I'm going to create super soldiers. I'm going to inject the blood inside of me and see what it... I don't know. There's stories of that in Star Wars, right?
You've been hinting at that scene on his ship where he was surrounded by all the figures in the black armor.
Yeah.
And those, to me, my first thought was they're Death Troopers.
I thought so too, yep.
But yeah, they were all kind of hooked up to these apparatuses that seem to be going kind of to their mouths, right?
Yeah.
But they never really focused in on it, or you didn't get a good shot at any individual one. So it was really unclear to me what was going on in that area. And it just raises all these questions in addition to everything else we've been talking about. So it's all just, they're throwing a lot at you all at once to kind of keep you wondering.
I too was very confused. They did. My first thought was those are Death Troopers, but then we're like panning back, and I'm like, no, this is more important. What the hell am I missing? And you're right. There was even one of the scientist guys was going up and kind of messing with one of them. I'm like, it was just a Death Trooper. It's not the scientist who's in what looked like. Do you remember in that scene in Rogue One? We're on wherever Galen Erso's Edu, yeah. Remember when they brought all those scientists out and they had those white painter suits on or whatever they were? Yeah. That's what this guy was wearing. So I was like, what the hell? Why would they be messing with them?
Maybe Death Troopers have always been these sort of bioengineered soldiers that have some kind of chemical enhancement to them, because they're supposed to be like elite. So maybe that's just always what Death Troopers have been, and this is how you maintain a Death Trooper.
And these are going to be like
hook them up to get his like steroids every now and again or something.
It could, and maybe we ramp him up even more with whatever concoction this could make. And so I started thinking that, like, maybe it's just Death Troopers. And I was like, well, in the final sequence there in the battle on Navarro, we saw Death Troopers, right? Like they showed up with Moff Gideon, so it would make sense that that's what they were. But like the shot, it being the ending, them panning back, dramatic music, amped, it felt too important. So 5 minutes before I went live, I was like, what the hell are people think that this is? And I'm seeing people talk about the dark, I think they were dark troopers. They're kind of I think that's what they were, kind of an EU kind of big battle droids that were very menacing. And that would be cool. Here's another way to bring in some kind of non-canon stuff into canon, and it feels like this is the proper place for it. That makes sense to me. And it also makes sense that we're probably running out of stormtroopers. So what other kind of like, what else can we discard? In Rebels, it was just like stormtroopers getting shot up like crazy. It's like, aren't we running out of these guys? It's like we need droids. We need kind of that prequel era and Clone Wars area of just droids everywhere. Because it feels like it's good. That's going to come to that. There's going to be an army or something. So it makes sense that he's creating something, or he has, a secret kind of army with him that's not just stormtroopers, it's something else. And maybe it would be kind of crazy if they could inject them with something, because he was excited. And I don't know if it was just because, Baby Yoda's back, now it's the time. It just, we're surrounded by these droids. It feels connected. Maybe that's to throw us off, but maybe we have giant kind of juiced death troopers that maybe they have jetpacks too. I don't freaking know. It's just, it felt too simple though. And that's why I felt it was necessary to be like, don't jump to it being Snoke just yet. Don't, because it could be something else. There's something else going on. It seems too simple. But like Jory said, he was happy that he said, I'm happy that I was correct in my thoughts at Baby Yoda being a clone. So he could be a clone. He very well could be, or they were using him for cloning purposes. That was kind of a big theory back in the day, and that feels
I'm
right.
leaning much more towards that.
Yeah.
I don't interpret anything that says Baby Yoda's a clone yet, but that they were using his blood to try to inject into clones.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if he was a clone, like, where's he come from? Did they find... Well, no, because Yoda's body dissipated. Like, Yoda's gone, son, unless they had some vials of his DNA or blood in some test tube somewhere.
Well, if the age thing is right at 50 years, he would have been born pre-Yoda becoming one of the Force.
Oh, my God. Could Yoda have been getting busy on Dagobah? I mean, did him and Yaddle hook up? What? I don't know.
Back in the day.
Could it have been? Maybe a council meeting just went a little late one night, and I don't know, maybe there's a little too much Jawa juice and things got weird. They had a child.
And we are bringing all of our most sweaty thoughts into this. We're people who have read the Rise of Skywalker novelization and have seen Rise of Skywalker several times. Whereas I wonder what the perspective of somebody who's a little less deep and sweaty into these things than we are. And I have a couple of people like that I'm really interested in the next couple of days to kind of get in touch with them.
Yes.
And I know they watch the show, but they're not that level. So I'm really curious to see what their interpretations of everything are, because I think it's easier for us to start making these connections and these conclusions. But I wonder how it's playing with just that broader audience that isn't that deep into it, but loves the show and has seen all the Star Wars movies.
You're absolutely right. We mentioned that kind of last live stream, and I mentioned our friend Lauren, and I meant to follow up with her and say, have you been to The Mandalorian yet? Because I imagine she'd be like, why the hell do I care that there's these humanoid, she wouldn't call them humanoids, these disgusting things in these tubes? Why do I care? Why do I care that Moff Gideon looks all menacing? He's surrounded by, I don't even know if they would have caught that there was anything in there. So it's like, it'll be interesting to hear what the lay person has to say. And by lay person, I mean non-Star Wars folk or, casual fans, which we embrace. I would love to take a phone call or a Skype call with someone who really didn't know what the hell was going on, so we could talk about it and maybe get them excited. But yeah, this episode was just, it was sweaty. It just confirmed we're going all in. We're going all into the prequels. We're going all into the sequels. We're tying it all in. We're bringing in all the animated shows. I think there was even on the Imperial base with those guys that blew the freaking console. I think they were even had patches that replicated the Camino patch of the clone. There's something with the cloners and that doctor from Camino. They're connected somehow. What are the Kaminoans doing after the war? Were they dissolved? Did they have a purpose at that point? I'm sure their cloning didn't stop. So who else now are they kind of helping?
I could see Palpatine using the Empire to kind of shut them down. Yeah. To say I don't want somebody else coming along and ordering an army to rival mine.
It's a threat.
So I'm gonna shut you guys down. Yeah. That's what I imagine happened to them.
Yeah.
And one criticism I have of the episode, followed by kind of a brighter point, is some of the dialogue of Cara Dune.
Yeah.
During the action sequences.
Yeah.
It was kind of like lame action dialogue, even some of the stuff going back and forth between her and Grief Karga.
Yeah.
But then, like, when they first got in the tank and she's like, "What are you waiting for? An invitation? Get in here." Like, I would have left it at just, "What are you waiting for?
Get in here."
So, you know, but some of those lines were a little goofy.
Yeah.
But then there was a nice scene they tacked on there towards the end with the our favorite New Republic pilot that we saw in episode 2 coming by and kind of doing his investigation and his write-up of the incident. And it was revealed last season, I think the final episode or the penultimate episode of season 1, that she was Alderaanian. Gideon said when he was calling out to them when they were huddled in the bar there, and they were surrounded, he was calling out to them that he knew who they all were and what their backgrounds were and where they came from, and he mentioned that Cara Dune was Alderaanian. And that moment where the pilot talks to Cara about being from Alderaan and about, you know, if she lost people, and I thought that was a good moment in that Gina Carano did a decent job there, and the way she responded about, I lost everyone. I'm like the only one I know alive, basically, and how that kind of spurred her on, and her like moment of self-reflection on that, and the medallion that he left behind for her as he was sort of giving her his condolences. That was a powerful moment to me, and something that, you know, gets talked about a lot, how Alderaan blows up, and then it's not dwelled on in the movies much. It's not dwelled on by
Carrie Fisher,
one of the main characters of Princess Leia, who is Alderaan and witnessed it. And it's just bam, and it happens, and you move on. So it was nice. It's nice to see these moments. They've done it in the comics a lot, where there's more reflection on what that means to lose an entire planet and what it does to the diaspora that survived, that was off planet at the time. So to see it here in this format, I really enjoyed that moment a lot, and I love that they kind of tacked it on, because the episode could have worked without that scene, but I liked it as a little epilogue.
Luke, I gotta ask you that, because I felt the same freaking way. I was like, this seems kind of odd. I was like, oh well, it makes it. It's the end. No, there was another little scene there with Moff Gideon. I have to ask you then, because I know people are gonna ask this, and I know people are gonna talk about it. With all the drama that's going on right now, with Gina Carano getting on Parler, you know, may or maybe not disputing the election. I'm not getting into politics. Maybe she's a little bit of a nut job. I don't know. Hey, that's not me. Maybe, you know, maybe Disney is looking to remove her from the project. Maybe this is a conversation they've had for a while. It seems, I don't know. It seems like, it's going to be, I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a huge discussion topic on Star Wars Twitter this week. It seemed as though Gina Carano was holding back in her interactions with fans and Twitterverse and Star Wars. It felt like she was holding back. A lot of positive stuff going on, a lot of love. And yeah, maybe the election kind of heightened things up, but a switch turned to where Gina Carano said a lot that, you know, while employed by Disney, others have been fired for less. Chuck Wendig, who was just kind of going at someone who was talking crazy to him, lost his job for it. And I get we're dealing with an actor and author. It could be a little different, but you're still employed by Disney. It feels like maybe a change happened and that you're no longer employed. You no longer have a contract. Hey, say whatever you want. And honestly, I don't give a shit what she believes. I really don't care. Seems like a nice enough person, but maybe a little crazy. I don't know. But, you know, it's just something's changed. And so I'm glad that you mentioned it felt like that scene was added in. It just felt like that was added in after the fact. Whether it was or not, I have no idea. We'll probably never know. But it felt like it was added in. And did it have a purpose? I don't know. These random, these cops, pretty much, these X-Wing pilots show back up from the prior episodes, and they're questioning Grief, right? Like, so the Razor Crest was here. It just felt random, right?
I think we're going to see these guys again for sure. It seems like I don't think we're done with them halfway through the season, given that they've appeared twice. And yeah, I don't keep up with all the social media goings on and all the conversations, but the whole Gina Carano situation did come onto my radar in the past couple days. And I was troubled by a lot of it. And like you said, there have been people excommunicated from Disney Star Wars for less, or for speaking out in other ways that were maybe somewhat controversial, or so you can say whatever you want in terms of free speech. It doesn't mean you'll suffer zero consequences for what you say.
Right.
And I think people confuse that a lot of the time. They think free speech means I can say what I want. I shouldn't have to suffer any consequences. No, you can speak your mind as much as you want, but don't expect everyone to accept what you say. And people are ostracized for saying certain things, or they lose certain entitlements or certain privileges. And yet, given Disney's history, which I don't know if Gina Carano knows Disney's history.
You would
on
think.
This, if she was wanting to protect her job, maybe she would be a little more reserved on some issues. But maybe she doesn't know that, and who knows what decision. It's a tricky situation for Disney, but like you said, Disney hasn't hesitated in the past if they feel somebody is a little too controversial to just kind of send them on their way.
Yeah, and there's no short number of people on Twitter, not letting her know because they are very aware, and she's taking action to even just block like no names, just like, hey, like what you're saying is really offensive, and she'll just block them. So it's like there's no real effort to kind of reconcile anything that's happened. It's just kind of like this. Hey, I'm gonna say what I want. And it doesn't seem like there's been any consequences. People have called on Disney to literally get rid of her. I've seen Disney respond to less. People, not even so much like writers or actors in Star Wars. There have been people in smaller behind the scenes roles who have said or done things that, someone alleged wrongdoing, and it got into Twitter, and Star Wars gave a statement. I'm not going to go into details, but Star Wars gave a statement and said, this person's no longer with us. This person's been removed from whatever. We are removing ourselves from this. So they've responded to far less. Right now, nothing. They have said nothing about anything that's been said. I mean, John Boyega, stands up, makes a powerful statement. Star Wars stands with John Boyega. As troubling as it was for a lot of people across the world, I admire what he did, but a lot of people didn't. Star Wars stands by him, making a statement. Silence right now. So it's interesting. Feels like, hey, we're going to, until the season's over, we ain't going to make any announcements. But I'm glad you recognize that, Luke, because I think it's worth mentioning, and that it felt like it was kind of shoehorned in there at the end. I was like, what's the purpose of this? But it was, for what it was a powerful moment. And I thought that was probably some of our best acting, to be honest, of the entire series, because it felt real. It felt, touching, and obviously bringing in Alderaan, it's like, the guy saying, hey, like, this is bigger than just what you're like. This is bigger, and there's so many people being affected, pulling at those heartstrings. Maybe that's a way of offering, Cara Dune a ride into the sunset. Maybe we'll never see her again. I don't know. It's maybe that's a little far fetched, but writing that in there, you could see maybe she makes the choice to leave Navarro and kind of join the New Republic. It doesn't seem like we're going to be seeing a whole lot of the New Republic, which was another kind of thing that I liked when towards the beginning of the episode, Grief Karga says, the New Republic the Empire tried to, take over and kind of, rein in the Outer Rim. Why does the New Republic think they're going to be able to do anything? I kind of like that they're separating themselves from the New Republic, and it's just like, these guys don't have a side. They just like are trying to survive. I thought that was cool. So it feels like maybe that might be a Cara Dune out to say, we're never going to talk about the New Republic again in this show. We're going somewhere else. So that can be, she goes on and does her thing. But I don't know. I think it's worth talking about, guys, because to me, it was a little awkward that we had that scene, but it is what it is. We'll find out. We only have how many more episodes? We're a third of the way through or something like that, I think. So we've got.
Well, this is
halfway. Holy shnikes.
Yeah, it's another 8 episodes.
Oh,
season.
God.
So this was the halfway mark. And, set up for a wild back half.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they got the tracking device on the Razor Crest now. And next stop is Ahsoka.
Oh, God.
And we see what a badass Ahsoka can be in the Clone Wars and in Rebels. This last season 7 of Clone Wars, the action sequences that with the Siege of Mandalore and post Order 66 when the clones attack her, they're amazing, and Ahsoka does amazing things. And so I'm so ready for Gideon to try to bring the hammer down on her when he finds Din with her, and for her to spring into action. I'm excited about that prospect, and a little nervous too because the action in the Clone Wars looks so beautiful, and it can be so intense because I've talked about this before with a lot of the lightsaber duels are like almost probably the best in the Clone Wars because the unreal things they can do with animation that look amazing. That's much harder to do with actual people on live action. So Ahsoka's action sequences and how they translate from animation to live action is something I'm really curious about. It worked with Bo-Katan, her style of fighting and everything. But Jedi in animation to Jedi in live action is a whole sort of different thing.
It's going to be a test. And that 7th season was especially fascinating because they did that motion capture and it just was even more fluid, but you still had that animation factor that allowed you to do things you're not going to be able to really see in live action. So you're right, Luke. That's going to be a test. And I mean, the Darksaber looked pretty cool from a distance, but it's like, how is this going to look with a little lower budget, and how big is it going to be? The fighting so far has been some hand-to-hand and a lot of blaster shooting. So I don't know. Maybe a less experienced, individual like Moff Gideon could be a little more believable. I loved the freaking the Force Awakens battle in the forest with Kylo and Rey. It just felt real. So I would even go for something like that. But Ahsoka, she knows what the hell she's doing. Like, she ain't going to be, fumbling around some sabers and stuff. So I don't know. It feels like I don't know. Maybe we won't even get that far. Maybe that'll be a next season thing, but you're right. Dave Filoni's in the bullpen here. So I know he's on deck. Like, he's not even in the bullpen. Well, that's another baseball reference, but he's on deck. So it feels like she's going to at least make an appearance. And maybe we establish Ahsoka in the show, and if she's going to be there more, we've established her, and someone else can take over. But I don't know. I think that's a question.
I thought there was a decent chance this episode would end with a shot of her. But they're leaving it entirely, since they already told us she's coming in dialogue in episode 3. They're just leaving it until the full episode that she's going to be in, which all signs point to next week. So it's the anticipation for me for next week is already off the charts. So hopefully the next week isn't too hard to get through, and we get to that next episode.
Absolutely. Nettie said something really interesting here, which this is a nice little pull from a few years ago. He said, is this Operation Darksaber we heard about in Rogue One? Is that what we're seeing right now? Is Operation Darksaber Moff Gideon's project. You know,
is this one like that when they're at Scarif rifling through what some of the different code names are?
Yeah.
Is that one that comes up? Okay.
Darksaber.
I didn't realize that.
Which we all kind of thought, are they referencing are they? I don't know. Or they call it Black Saber. They call it something different. They don't call it the Dark Saber. They say, they say something else. Black Saber or something. They call it something different, but you're like, oh, is that the same thing? Was this just the project of seeking it out, trying to get it back, or I don't know. So it's pretty interesting that maybe how long's Moff Gideon been around? Like that would have been a little while ago. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. What else? I lost some things in the prior chat because we had to restart the stream. I'm really sorry about that, guys. I'm also terrible at hosting, interacting, and running a chat. So I appreciate you guys being patient. But what is there anything else that we're missing? I feel like I had so many thoughts getting ready for this, and I feel like I only got a few of them out. But maybe not. Maybe that was it. Is there anything else, Luke, that really stuck out in this episode, or are we ready to get punched in the face next week? It's like Snoku, like Ahsoka's in town.
It was nothing new this episode because I think the whole season has been visually really incredible. Yeah. You know, season 1 looked great, but I think everything definitely taken up a notch this second season. And one of the criticisms I had of season 1 was some of the ship movements and the little bit of kind of dogfighting of ships we got. I thought it didn't look the greatest in season 1, and everything this season I thought has looked really smooth, really incredible. The TIEs chasing them in the tank was all great, and to get the repeated cockpit views of the TIE fighter pilot was a great sequence to see those perspectives of inside the tank, outside the tank, and inside the cockpits of the TIE fighters. And then the final battle, once the Razor Crest comes into the scene and starts taking on the TIEs to save the Greef and Kara and the Mithril in the tank. That sequence, and that had another great just comedic moments with Baby Yoda. I just started like busting my gut when I see that he's in there with Din. Like I said, that Din snagged him from the school before getting in there, and then he's still got his cookies, and he's trying to eat the cookies even though, you know, the dog fight is raging, and his hands are up in the air, and then he ends up spitting up a little cookie. Those are some great comedic moments, and then the final like cherry on top of that sundae was Din referencing that he had some cleanup to do. I can't remember, like some cockpit maintenance he said or something. When Greef asked him if they were going to land and talk some more, and referring to Baby Yoda's cookie spit up in a coded way. Those are all great moments. Like I said, the visuals of the ships flying and dogfighting have been really fantastic. I thought a weakness last season that's been improved.
Yeah, it was like a little pet project, I think, when Jon Favreau was like, "Hey, let's do the model thing. Let's get some of that kind of that actual model still frame, put them all together, kind of capture that they did in the original movies." And it was cool. It was nostalgic, awesome, looks awesome. But yeah, when you get into these, the X-wings flying around, the Razor Crest and ties, like we upped the animation or the graphics on this one. And boy, when that Razor Crest went up and just came back down, that was some of the most beautiful graphics I've seen in the entire show. It did look amazing. And yeah, then another funny moment with Baby Yoda. Picked him up from school. Now, hey, it's on to the actual mission. He knows what he has to do now. And that Razor Crest looked damn good. I mean, took, a couple hours to get that thing in working order. It's flying. We're not making any more pit stops.
Souped it up.
Right? I'm done with we got to get repairs. That has been every other episode. Let's move on from that. The ship is functioning. We're going to get where we need to go, and let's do it. But, I mean, this one was worth it. What felt like it could have just been another pit stop to fix the ship had a lot of juicy stuff in there, guys. I am excited to see how people break this thing down. It's only Friday night. It takes a couple days for people to really sink their teeth into it, and then the speculation comes. Is it Snoke? Is it something else? Is Moff Gideon cloning himself to have a big Moff Gideon army that he will lead, and they'll put those gross little guys in the suits, and he's got this zombie army? I don't know. We're going to find out, though. And you know what? It would be pretty cool to see Ahsoka slaying a lot of droids again. I'll tell you that. Maybe Luke, maybe that's how they make it work so seamlessly. Maybe not so much lightsaber on lightsaber. She's just slashing droids like crazy. And maybe Moff gets away, and maybe the confrontation happens later. I don't know. Am I right in the show? Maybe. But I'm excited to see where it goes. Next week's going to be huge. Dave Filoni ain't directing an episode, and it's going to be a write-off. No freaking way, especially mid-season. I don't know if we get a mid-season break. Hope not. But, boy, it's really pumped for it. Guys. I don't know if we have anything else. We may have exhausted this episode, but I was pumped to be able to chat with Luke here. Sorry about the issues at the beginning of the stream. That's my bad. We'll never uncheck audio boxes ever again in OBS. Promise. Never happen. It's functioning now. Will not happen again. So hopefully Holly will catch up on this, and we'll be able to talk with her and get her thoughts. Maybe she won't care. Maybe she'll say, I don't care about clones. Maybe I don't care about, a robot army. I don't know. Maybe she'll hate it. Maybe she'll love it. But no Ahsoka yet. We'll wait for next week. Luke, we still have comic books to talk about. I've been saying that for 2 weeks. We have epic comic books to talk about in the flesh. Look at that face. Is that Hayden Christensen? I think it is. It looks like it. We got comic books to read, guys. We got Darth Vader to catch up on. We got Star Wars to catch up on. There's just too much. We're at a point where it's too much. It's too much for me. That's why I took next week off. That's why Mike is going to be consuming Star Wars, and I'm going to be doing Patreon exclusives. We're going to be doing some gaming. It's time to catch up on Squadrons. I am at a puny level 7. You guys are probably 30s, or I don't even know what the ranking system is, but I'm a puny number 7, and I suck. I only get AI kills, so I need people to guide me. I need a squad. Me and my buddy Tom can't save the galaxy alone, especially when we're dying a lot. So maybe doing some streams next week if you guys are down for it. Fire up your PS4s, do your updates, or maybe you guys have PS5s now. I'm sorry, I'm not on board with everyone. Well, Nettie, time to tidy up your Squadrons play. Apparently Nettie hasn't played in a while, but I need wingmen. I need people out there helping me guide through this game because I don't understand it, and I suck at it. So expect maybe some streaming, another podcast, just more Star Wars consumption. I'm going to enjoy this week. I'm going to take it all in, and I want to share it with you guys, so expect some good stuff. And Nettie's got a PS5. See, I knew it. I knew our fam was already on the PS5. Now you're going to make me have to go get one. Maybe that's why I do that this week. We'll see. I don't know if it's in the budget. But, guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate Luke. And we'll do this same time, same place here on Flying Casual, Friday, 9 p.m., hopefully with an epic episode 5, I believe, from the man himself, Dave Filoni. Guys, we'll catch you later. And as always, may the Force be with you.